Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. We've kind of gotten away from doing stack videos or talking about metals just as metals and handling metals, other than the occasional procurement of a new piece or a new coin, piece of bullion. And this video is going to be a little bit different than one of those, stack videos. It's going to be more of a kind of an encouragement to you guys out there when it comes to talking about metals with others. And I'm going to use a story here as we go through it, just kind of handle some of these coins and look at them. Pieces of bullion. You guys are familiar with the 5-ounce pieces we just recently acquired from Scottsdale. These buttons. Very enjoyable piece of silver, hefty to hold. And I've just got a nice little selection here of pieces that we could look at as we talk about this. But so you've got family out there, you've got friends that are not maybe exposed to metals. What kind of gave me the idea for this today was the fact that in today's video that we made regarding the news and some of the topics of conversation, we mentioned that, and we've mentioned this point quite a bit on the channel, I think a lot of you have probably gotten sick of it, that less than 1% of the American population has really ever held a gold coin. Less than 1% of the American population has ever handled any gold, for that matter, that's not in the form of jewelry. And that's unfortunate, because that lack of exposure, I think, is partly responsible for the lack of appreciation, the lack of knowledge, and the lack of curiosity. Because once you see something or hold something, even as a child, whether it's a rose or something in nature, it doesn't really matter. It sparks, or it can spark, a curiosity, which sets that person off on a journey, a search for more information, more knowledge on the subject. And we're just going to go ahead and get this one out of this case. I don't do this very often, so you might as well. So, all of you out there that are stackers, that have metals, there's something about that connection when you drop a gold coin into your hand. Whether it's a 1/2-ounce piece, such as this, or whether it's a 1-ounce gold coin, a 1/4-ounce gold coin, a 1/10, or even just some silver. There's something about the mass, the weight, almost the immediate recognition of value. And I think it's almost unpreventable. Any person that holds a gold coin sees it, feels it, knows it, the scarcity. Anyone who's ever worked to get gold knows immediately. If you've ever gone out and tried to mine or do anything like that, pan or sluice for gold. The same could go for silver, especially these 5-ounce buttons. Now, taking a while to beat around the bush here to get to it, but try doing that in showing friends or family. Let them physically touch some metal. And don't be pushy or, it doesn't have to be some big, hey, if you're having the conversation, pull a piece out and let them feel it, let them touch it. That's often a way that I can segue a conversation a little bit further in talking about the history of the metals and talking about where they come from, the value, a little bit about economics, where all this comes from. And years ago, I had a family member that he is currently, he's a pretty wealthy guy, very wealthy as a matter of fact. Had a lot of cash, a lot of holdings, a lot of investments. And this was during the height of the economic crisis. Actually, not the height, maybe right at the beginning. And we were sitting at the dinner table. We were having a conversation about these things, investments, money. It's actually, I think that conversation from that evening's where I ended up coming up with the term dynasty, as in metals, preserving a dynasty, carrying your name forward into the future, and preserving your dynasty, your wealth, your family wealth, the fruits of your labors, and so on. And in discussions that night, I dropped a 1 ounce coin of gold, 1 ounce gold coin, onto the table. It was a Krugerrand. Just slammed it down, let it fall from a pretty good height onto the table. You can beat up Krugerrands; they're just bullion, right? And at the time, I don't know, gold might have been $800, $900 an ounce, perhaps. And I let him pick it up and hold it, and then threw some cash down as well. Not near the value of the gold coin itself, but it allowed me to kind of create a more physical picture of what I was discussing, what I was talking about with him. As far as, this gold coin represents this giant pile of cash, and how all of that cash, which is basically what we work for today, our labor and what we clock in and clock out for, it's all the efforts, the human effort that people put forward is today typically for cash. And I said, here you can pack it all into this one lump of metal, all that work. And it's now preserved forever in this form. This was energy. Your work was physical energy that turned into cash that you transitioned into this metal, and now it's trapped in here. And that's where earlier today we talked about the time machine, how gold, and you could say silver, can become a time machine that transports your labor from here to the future. And it's locked away to be released later for whatever you might need. And I think it really hit close to home for him, because shortly thereafter, he moved a significant portion of cash, into metals. Far more than most people would be accustomed to or even comfortable discussing. So it was a lot of money, and it went straight to gold and silver in the physical form. And shortly thereafter, the economy did what it did. All of it collapsed and metals skyrocketed, but he was able to get in at a fair price. And the point of that story is, it took a physical connection for him, and I don't know how this is just me going off on a limb here. I have no idea if there's anything scientific, if there's anything factual, you could even pull data from this, but it took that physical connection with metals themselves, and in discussing it, with a family member, to spark that interest and to spark that move, that he would move forward and actually make that leap. One could argue, a leap of faith, because I think it takes just as much faith. Actually, it takes less faith, I think, to put your wealth in metals than it does in the stock market, because when you put it in the stock market, you're putting your faith entirely in the actions and the bets of other fallible humans. But it's a lot easier to put your money in something that's existed for over 7,000 years than something that's just decades old anyways. But it took that physical connection for him to really, I think, understand and feel what it was metals had to offer. When you're holding a lump of metal, a cold, heavy, dense piece of silver or gold, and you hear it clink against itself, you soon realize that it's not just paper. It's not this pulverized pulp pressed into a thin sheet that has the scribblings of the state upon it. The images of dead men and fake promises and empty words and pictures of buildings and pictures of things with serial numbers and seals, and the permanence of metal is immediately known, immediately recognized. If I bury these outside, this sheet of paper or this silver bar, in 100,000 years even, this silver bar will still be there in the hole that I put them in. Whereas this little sheet of paper will be gone in a season or two, decomposed and eaten by worms. And I think any person will see that. Any person will recognize that during the course of conversation. So next time you're having a conversation with friends or family and metals come up, it's dinner time, you've had a glass or two of wine, maybe a sip of some scotch, it might be time to pull out a 5-ounce button from Scottsdale Mint or a 100-gram bar of silver and drop it on the table, thump it right in front of them. Let them hold it, let them handle it. If you're generous, you could give them one to start them off. That's actually a smart thing to do. Every once in a while you can give a coin to somebody, a silver eagle, and it might set them off on a tangent to collect. Or, an old silver maple leaf. When I was a kid, I used to love the thickness of the silver maple leaf. Not to mention the 4.9 on it. But there was always something about the thickness of the old maple leaf that really drew me to the coin, as compared to the thinner and larger diameter of the eagles. But drop a gold coin, drop an ounce on the table. See what your friend or your family thinks of a full ounce of gold being dropped. What do they think when they hold it? When you can explain the value of it to them, how long it's held value. That at one point these were only $20.67, and then $35 an ounce, and then they were $42 an ounce, where they sit currently on the books of the federal government. But when you start to discuss things with them like central banks, interest rates, the money supply, the movement of gold between nations and vaults, Germany requesting its gold back, all the nations that we discuss on this channel, the lists of nations that request their gold to be put back into their own vaults. When you talk about purchasing power, strengths of currencies, all of those things, and you start to just weave and tie together the many topics that we've talked about here on the Junius Maltby channel. War, stability of nations, the history of mankind, trade, the movement of goods and services. And if you can just somehow paint the picture for them, the value that gold and silver hold, and you don't have to push them towards acquiring a lot of metals. I'm not here to advertise gold and silver. You guys know that. I don't own a company that sells gold and silver. I don't make money off of gold and silver in any way. I don't deal gold and silver. I don't know how many times I can tell you that. I actually despise a lot of the companies, as you know, online that do. So don't even drive them towards companies online, other than the ones we've maybe recommended here in the past that some of you and I have agreed are good companies. These friends or family members of yours, you can push towards getting just a small amount of gold and silver. It doesn't have to even be 10%. Why not 1%? Have them look at their entire savings and try to figure out what 1% would be. This is no benefit to me. However, I do like having friends or family members that are somewhat set up and prepared, or have some of their wealth put into a safer place, just in case something happens in the future. I don't have to worry about them as much and feel obligated to provide, some kind of services or loans for them. It would be nice if all of our families were independent and able to fend for themselves if something were to happen financially and economically. So it's within your interest, in a way, to make sure that your family and friends are safe, are set up, are secure financially, And gold and silver, as we all know, and you guys, if you're part of this channel, I'm sure you're fully aware. We've discussed this. These are this is the way to do that. So give it a shot, give it a try. Tell me how it works out. I guess this could be a homework assignment. I don't give homework assignments too often here on the channel. I think I've asked you guys in the past to read a paper here or there, but do that for me if you can. Take some silver, take some gold, and tonight at dinner, if you're having a family get together, or tomorrow or this weekend, make it a point to raise the topic, especially with what's going on in current events and what's happening around the world. Take this as an opportunity to, and don't make it weird. You don't have to make it weird. You don't have to knock on the front door and, I'd like to talk to you about, the decisions you're making in life. It doesn't have to be some, you're preaching to them or some, door-to-door evangelist type of a move. Just whatever. When the time's right, make the conversation happen and raise some awareness and try to help your family out. It's the way to go. But, and definitely don't be confrontational or pushy. No one likes that, because then you just push them in the other direction. They'll never be open to it. But you might want to just open it up with dropping it on the table and letting them hold it and see what they think. All right, that's going to wrap up today's second video. I guess this is the second video for today, yeah. So, good conversation, good topic. I know you guys like when we handle some metals and we talk about them. So, thanks for being part of the Junius Maltby channel. And thanks for participating, as always. And enjoy the little view of our Canadian maple leaf there. All of you viewers from Canada, I know there's many of you. But I've always, again, off the topic, we always take little side notes here, but side roads. Always appreciated the detail of the maple leaf as well. It struck me pretty rare as a kid. It struck me as a kid how well they were able to get that maple leaf detail on a coin. Pretty impressive. All right. That'll do it for today. Have a great rest of your evening. And don't forget your homework assignment. Go drop some metal on a table and tell me how it works out for you.